Hello, hello. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Good boy. You hear it. All right. Chapter 4, Conscientiousness. So all the Mahayana paths, practice of Mahayana paths included in 2, cultivation of bodhicitta and practice of the 6 perfections, out of which the first 2, giving and morality, I think. story more. So all the minor teachings, practices can be included too, cultivation of bodhicitta and practice of six perfections. So cultivation bodhicitta is completed. Then with regard to the practice of six perfections, the practice of giving or generosity is also planned. While explaining the uh, section on cultivation of bodhicitta, the text did not give an elaborate explanation on the practice of giving because Shantideva is a practitioner, spiritual practitioner who does not engage in elaborate practices of material giving. So there is not very elaborate explanation. Right? And the practice, second perfection, practice of morality is explained under the chapter conscientiousness, which we are going to read. And actually, I don't like this word conscientiousness. So difficult. Instead, I use the word heedfulness. 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 Right? And then maybe next chapter may be conscientiousness or guarding alertness or something like that. So heedfulness means that you should be heedful in what to adopt and what to give up. Right? What to give up means giving up the negative emotions, and adopting means adopting the practice virtues qualities, including the six perfections. All right? Having firmly seized the awakening mind in this way, a bodhisattva, a conqueror's son, means bodhisattva must never waver. Means a bodhisattva should not get distracted in terms of his practice. Always should he or her exert himself or herself to never stray from this practice. मैं ये करेगा वो करेगा बोलना आसान है लेकिन करना मुश्किल है, इसलिए बोल रहा है कि अभी आपने बोधिचित्त उत्पन्न कर लिया, अभी आपने प्रयास करना है. And don't transcend, don't violate the precept. That is what he's saying. क्यों? क्योंकि even in the case of reckless actions or of deeds not well considered, although a promise may have been made, it is fit to reconsider whether I should do them or not. So he's saying that in our ordinary life, recklessly means without thinking much, even if you made some promise that I'll do this, I'll do that, because you did not think it properly, so it's okay if you give it up. You may have made some promise, but because you did not think clearly, so it is okay, you give it up. This is what he's saying. In the case of reckless actions or of deeds not well considered, ठीक से हमने नहीं सोचा है, जल्दबाजी में किया, बोलेगा मैं करेगा, वैसे भी अपने जीवन में ये करेगा वो करेगा ज्यादा नहीं बोलना चाहिए. पहले तुम सोचो कि तुम ये कर सकोगे नहीं कर सकोगे. You should think carefully whether you can do it or not. Only if you think you can do it, then you should say I will do it. And once you make the commitment and say that I'll do it, then you should complete it. Don't leave it unfinished. Right? So therefore in your life, don't try to start too many projects. मैं ये भी करूँगा, वो भी करूँगा. आजकल बोलता है ना मल्टीटास्किंग, और मल्टीटास्किंग के बच्चे. So because if you do something properly and finish it properly, that will energize you and you get a sense of satisfaction. Yes, I did it, I've done it. And that will give you a new energy to do a new project. ऐसे नहीं इधर भी थोड़ा सा शुरू किया उधर भी थोड़ा सा शुरू किया. हम लोग बोलते हैं तिब्बत में जैसे कि जो अंधा याग है ना, जिस तरह से अंधा याग घास खाता है उसी तरह मत करो. अंधा याग उसको दिखाई नहीं देता, इधर से भी थोड़ा खा लिया, इधर से भी थोड़ा खा लिया, ठीक से हाँ punga bra like wrong on the title punga bra not like that huh? But here in this case, when you're talking about practicing the commitments of bodhisattva, it is not something that you decided carelessly. It is not something that the Buddha said recklessly. But how can I ever withdraw from what has been examined by the great wisdom of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas? And even many times by myself, बुद्धा ने भी सोचा, बोधिसत्व ने सोचा, और मैंने भी खुद सोचा कि ठीक रास्ता है कि गलत रास्ते है। मुझे पता चला कि बिल्कुल ठीक रास्ते, अब इसको अपने अपनाना है, राइट? Promise breakers are better than shoemakers. Promise breakers are not better than shoemakers, something like that. अगर इस तरह की प्रॉमिस करने के बाद भी आपने नहीं किया, फिर देखना नहीं क्या होता है. If having made such a promise I do not put into action, then by deceiving every living beings, बड़े जोर शोर से आपने ऐलान किया था ना, सब इधर आ जाओ, मैं आपको मदद करने के लिए तैयार है, बोला था ना अभी और सबको बुला करके फिर कुछ भी नहीं दिया तो फिर क्या होगा? ठीक है ना? That's what he's saying. Then by deceiving every living being, what kind of rebirth shall I take? वैसे भी अपने जीवन में, don't make too many promises which you can't do. Otherwise, people get upset and they will not trust you. It has been taught by the Buddhas that he who does not give away the smallest thing he once intended to give will take rebirth as a hungry ghost. Then if I should deceive all beings after having sincerely invited them to the unsurpassable bliss, shall I take happy rebirth? No. बोल रहे हैं no, big no, right? But exceptions are apart. Only the omniscient can discern the manner of action of those who give up the awakening mind but are freed. It is beyond the scope of ordinary thought. Means ऐसे भी कहानी है कि somebody developed bodhicitta, then broke it, but still got liberated from samsara. Those are exceptions. There are different kind of exceptions that they are. We are not talking about the exceptions. We are talking about the general practice. This for a bodhisattva is the heaviest of downfalls. There are many like root downfalls, bodhisattva's downfalls, I think 18 downfalls, out of which the heaviest one is to give up bodhicitta, which you have generated. And should others for even a single moment hinder or obstruct his wholesome deeds by weakening the welfare of all, there will be no end to their rebirth in lower states. So that means not only it is a downfall or negative when you give up bodhicitta, but even if you discourage other people regarding the cultivation of bodhicitta and so forth, it's very simple. Meaning that, जैसे कि मैंने बोला कि अगर कोई अच्छा काम कर रहा है, उसमें आपने रुकावट किया, दखल अंदाज किया, ये भी बहुत पाप, इसमें बहुत पाप है. So encourage them, don't discourage them. ठीक है ना? Encourage them, don't discourage them. Because for if my being is impaired, such a difficult translation, by destroying the joy of even one creature, then what need is there to mention destroying the joy of creatures vast as space? For if my being is impaired, आपको पता चल रही है क्या बोल रहा है? For if my being is impaired, meaning that I will degenerate. I will degenerate if I destroy the joy of even one sentient being. Then what need is there to mention destroying the joy of creatures vast as space? Thus, those who have the force of an awakening mind as well as the force of falling from it stay revolving within the cycle existence and for a long time are hindered in reaching the bodhisattva deed. So it means that if you become a bodhisattva, it doesn't mean that you are liberated from samsara. The bodhisattvas on the first ground, bodhisattva on the first path, solemn path of accumulation, second path of preparation, right? Still you can be in the samsara. It's only after you actualize the third path, the path of seeing, where you see emptiness directly, then you put an end to falling into samsara. Okay, so therefore he's saying that thus those who have the force of an awakening mind, you got very inspired, and then you cultivate the bodhicitta, so you have the force of awakening mind. But at the same time, as well as the force of falling. अच्छा भी कर रहा है, गलत भी कर रहा है, मिक्स हो रहा है ना हम लोग. कभी कभी कुछ अच्छा भी करता है ना, कभी कभी बुरा भी पड़ता है ना, तो क्या क्या हो जाता है, वो खिचड़ी बन जाता है, खिचड़ी बन जाता है. सो अब ढंग से अच्छा काम नहीं करेंगे और खिचड़ी पकाते रहेंगे, then you will stay revolving within cycle existence and for a long time are hindered in reaching the bodhisattva levels. Bodhisattva भूमि 10 भूमि है ना, 10 लेवल, वो नहीं पहुंचेगा आप. तो थोड़ा तरक्की होगा फिर गिर जाएगा, थोड़ा तरक्की होगा फिर गिर जाएगा, 4 कदम आगे बढ़ेगा, 4 कदम पीछे खिसकेगा, है ना, फिर तरक्की नहीं होगा ना, ये बोल रहा है. Therefore, just as I promised, shall I respectfully accord my actions. If from now on I make no effort, I shall descend from lower to lower levels. Right? अभी ये क्या बोल रहा है? ये बोल रहे हैं कि ये मौका है. What he is saying is, this is your opportunity. Right? So therefore practice it. ये मौका है. अगर ये मौका आप गवा देंगे, if from now on I make no effort और परिश्रम नहीं करेंगे, फिर क्या होगा? फिर गिरते जाएंगे नीचे. I shall descend from lower to lower states. फिर अगले जन्म में आप गाय का जन्म लिया, मच्छर का जन्म लिया, फिर कहाँ बोधिसत्व कहाँ है? कुछ नहीं होगा फिर, ये बोल रहा है. तो ये मौका है, अभी ये मौका है, सुनहरा मौका, बार बार नहीं मिलता है वो. राइट? अच्छी क्वेश्चन. So this one is saying that you should now not relax your effort in practice. That's what he's saying. You should not relax your effort, because if you do so, you will never get an opportunity again. Although for the benefit of every creature, countless Buddhas have passed by, yet I was not an object of their care because of my own mistakes. ये क्या बोल रहा है फिर? ये बोल रहा है कि बहुत सारा बुद्धा आके चला गया और मैं बुद्धिराम वैसे का वैसे रह गया. क्यों? क्योंकि बुद्धा तो था, पानी तो था, लेकिन पिया नहीं आपने. ये पानी का कसूर थोड़ी है ना. उसी तरह बुद्धा आ गया, बहुत सारे लोग बुद्धिमान लोग आ गया, लेकिन आपने ध्यान ही नहीं दिया. ठीक है ना? That's what he's saying. Although for the benefit of every sentient being, countless Buddhas have passed away, yet I was not an object of their care because of my own mistake. As I was saying this morning, the sun shines every day, but if you have constructed your house in such a way there is no possibility to get the sunlight in your house, that's not the fault of sun. It's your fault, your mistake, right? That's what he's saying. ये है आपका हालत, ये है आपका हालत। अब फिर भी अब ऐसे ही करते जाओ, फिर क्या होता है देखो, verse 14, and if I continue to act like this again and again, shall I undergo in unhappy realms? फिर क्या होगा, बीमारी भी होगा, बॉन्डेज भी होगा, लेसरेशन भी, कटेगा, आपको पीटेगा, सब बोल रहा है, and the shedding of blood and so forth. मतलब the Buddha said, I've shown you the path to liberation, liberation is up to you. So unless you practice, nobody can help you. This is the bitter truth. This is the bitter truth. So therefore, you need to take care of yourself. हम लोग बोलते हैं ना किसी को मिलके फिर बिछड़ते वक्त बोलता है ना बाय टेक केयर, बोलता है ना, नहीं बोलता है, कोई नहीं बोलता कि बाय आई विल टेक केयर, बोलता है, बोलता है नहीं बोलता है, नहीं बोलता है ना, वो कर केयर नहीं कर सकता वो, बाय बाय टेक केयर, दिस इज what he is saying here, by take care. These are all teachings, by take care. ये मौका नहीं खोना चाहिए, क्योंकि इधर लिखा है 15 verse 15 में, if the coming of the arising of the Tathagata, you know, the funny English words and makes it so distasteful. The coming of a Tathagata, having faith in you, and you are having attained this human body, and my being fit to cultivate virtue and are scarce. When will they be won again? है ना, वैसा मौका फिर कहाँ मिलेगा, एक गाना है ना, ऐसा मौका फिर कहाँ मिलेगा, हमारा जैसा दिल कहाँ मिलेगा, है ना, पता है नहीं पता है, पता है, ये तो बोल रहा है यहाँ, ऐसा मौका फिर कहाँ मिलेगा, क्योंकि ये मौका एक ऐसे मौके है जहाँ बुद्धा से काम, अब गुरु दलाई लामा जी तो यहाँ बैठा है ना, और उनके प्रति आपके पास श्रद्धा भी है, फेथ भी है, and you have obtained this precious human life also. So you are fit to make yourself accustomed with virtuous practices, right? तो ऐसा मौका बार बार नहीं मिलेगा. Scarce means they are very difficult to find such an opportunity. So if you don't do anything now, when are you going to obtain the same opportunity right now? Especially young people like you. If you don't practice these things right now, when are you going to practice? Are you going to practice when you cross 50? Are you going to practice when you cross 60? Or are you going to practice when you cross 70? How many of you understand Tibetan? Chola, of course, Gela, of course. You understand? A little bit. So, Tamju Chiju Majung Nishuchi. Chego Samni Nishuchi. Majung Samni Nishuchi. Visitumbo Seven Namtaris. So that means not being able to do Dharma practice, 20 years finished. होता है ना, अभी जवान है, छोटा है बोल के 20 साल तो कुछ नहीं होता है. उसके बाद फिर क्या होता है? छह सामने निश्चित, I will do Dharma practice, I will do Dharma practice, I will do Dharma practice, but not doing. 20 year pass. अब कहाँ पहुँच गया? 40 years हो गया. उसके बाद फिर बुढ़ापे शुरू हो जाता है. फिर बोलता है कि माजुंग सामने निश्चित, मतलब अभी कुछ नहीं हुआ, अभी कुछ नहीं हुआ, बस अब हो गया. This is the story of an empty biography of a human life. है ना? तिब्बत में एक गुरु था, वो अपने शिष्य को बोल रहा था, कुछ धर्म के बारे में कुछ प्रयास पढ़ाई हो रहा है? बोलता जी गुरु जी। झूठ मत बोलो, रात को तो तुम सोते रहते हो, सोते रहते हैं ना हम लोग सब खराटे मार के, रात को तो सोते रहते हैं, दिन में तुम इधर उधर ध्यान भटक के बैठा है ना? रवा सेमो येल निमो यिंग यिंग में से डिस्ट्रैक्टेड, तो यहाँ देख रहा है वहाँ देख रहा है, ऐसे घूम रहा है जैसे सब कुछ खो गया, ऐसे खो गया, क्या खो गया ऐसे लग रहा है। फिर बोलता है कि फिर बीच में खाना खाना, ये थोड़ा थोड़ा इधर उधर काम करना है, फिर आपको कहाँ मिलता है? Really, half of life we spend sleeping. Then a chunk of your life spent on different activities which you really need to do. So if you don't make effort from your own side, seize the opportunity, there never will be a perfect time for your practice. The perfect time kabhi nahi aayega. That is one thing. And then second thing is, nobody knows when we are going to die. है ना? So therefore you need to seize the opportunity and every day spend some time, at least to start with, in the morning. The first thing that you should do is after getting up, उठकर फिर क्या करना चाहिए? सबसे पहले टीवी ऑन और मोबाइल नहीं, सबसे पहले क्या करना चाहिए? I'm lucky, I'm able to wake up. Don't take it for granted. I'm able to wake up. Neme nyama dita, it is somewhere there in the bodhicitta. Neme, without being sick. Such a glorious day as a human being. Amazing. So I'll spend the day in a meaningful way. Whatever work, study, whatever job you're doing, cultivate that motivation. That throughout the course of my day, I will try my best to help others, not to harm others. जो भी आप कर रहा है, ठीक है ना? That should be the motivation. Thokta nyi la chawa nyi. That means there are two things you need to do. One in the beginning, one in the end. So this is like recharging your battery, recharging your torch. Many people don't recharge their battery, and then when night comes, हाँ मुझे बिजली चाहिए, बिजली कहाँ? तुमने उसको चार्ज ही नहीं किया, है ना? तो उसको चार्ज करना है तुमने सवेरे मोटिवेशन करके. फिर दिन भर when you go to work or study, unfortunately you meet some strange people also, right? So some of these people might bully you, some of these people might create some unnecessary problem. इतना आसान नहीं है जीवन. Sometimes unfortunately you might pick up a fight with somebody. So whatever be the case, at the close of the day, reflect back. मैंने आज ये दिन कैसे बीता? How did I spend my day today? Right? Review karo, review and review. And when you review, and then you find that as I promised this morning, I really had lived that promise. I did not harm anybody. I was happy. Then rejoice. I should do the same thing tomorrow also, next month also, next year also. And if you failed due to whatever be the situation, then you should, yes, because of the situation I could not control. It happened. I was angry. I was upset. Did this, did that. But don't take it as something a big achievement. Instead, you should think, I slept, so I'll not do this again tomorrow. So that's the only way. That's how you purify yourself repeatedly. Right? So this is the opportunity. Although today I'm healthy, well nourished, and unafflicted, but life is momentary and deceptive. The body is like an object on loan for but a minute. ये उधारा हुआ चीज है जो कभी भी कोई छीन के ले जा सकता है. तो आज किस्मत से आज I am healthy, well nourished, unafflicted, but nobody knows when you are going to disappear, right? So therefore now you should think that, and with behavior such as this, I shall not win a human body again. And if this human form is not attained, there will be solely evil and no virtue. क्योंकि like if you are born as an animal, as we discussed this morning, बदमाशी करना उनको भी आता है, एंगर इनके पास भी है, attachment is also there with the animals, but virtuous practice is very difficult, है ना? So then what will you do? If when I have the chance to live a wholesome life, my actions are not wholesome, then what shall I do? But what shall I be able to do when confused by the misery of the lower realms? If you are fallen into the lower realms, then what will you do? So in this way, what you are really trying to do is you are trying to be heedful, recognizing the preciousness of this human life, where you have opportunity and where you have facilities to do the practice. That is what he's saying. And if you don't practice, miss this opportunity, fall into a negative state existence, then you will end up doing only negative things and nothing positive. Right? And if I commit no wholesome, okay, I read this one. Therefore, the Buddha said, for this very reason, the Buddha said that like for a turtle, just like for a turtle to insert its neck into a yoke adrift upon the vast ocean, it is extremely hard to attain the human state. That means, so this line is saying, obtaining human life is very difficult. जैसे कि एक बहुत बड़ा समुद्र है, उसमें एक योक फॉर्मर स्नो है ना, जो उसमें एक आंख है, उसको उधर समुद्र में फेंक दिया, and that yoke keeps on floating, and in that ocean there lives a blind turtle, and that blind turtle cranes up its neck in 100 years. So when this turtle, blind turtle, cranes up his neck on the surface of the ocean in 100 years, and then being able to have his head go into that hole of that yoke, which is floating all the time, it's next to impossibility, right? Similarly, if you bring one handful of, rice or मटर लेकर के रिवर पर फेंको, एक भी रिवर पर नहीं बैठेगा ना, उसी तरह very difficult to obtain. But there is a story when Lama was talking about the difficulty of finding human. Then there's among the audience there was somebody who said, this Lama is making this statement because he never visited China. China जाओ उधर, आदमी बहुत है उधर. Obtaining precious human life is not difficult. Go to China. Now we can say go to India. Right? अभी कितना है हमारा population? Over 8 billion human population. बहुत सारा है ना? So then why this text is saying that it's so difficult to obtain precious human life? Why? I think it's not saying just obtaining a human life. Precious human life. Precious human life. That's very difficult. A life where you are attuned to the teachings. That's very difficult. Right? Okay? If even by the evil of one instant, an eon may be spent in the deepest hell, then because of that, the evil I have gathered since beginningless time, what need to mention my not going into a happy realm? इतना पाप मैंने इकट्ठा करके बैठा है, अब मैं क्या करूं? हाय हाय बोल रहे हैं. When I read this text, I really feel like acting. Can I do some acting? Oh, I'm joking. Because these are so powerful. But having experienced merely that rebirth in hell, एक बार अब गिर गया, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि कहानी खत्म हो गया. I shall still not be liberated, because for while it is being experienced, other evil will be extensively produced. क्योंकि मैं लगातार और बुरा काम कर रहा है, तो इसलिए फिर लिबरेट नहीं होगा. Right? This verses are saying that you should be heedful by thinking about how difficult it is to get liberated from negative state of existence. Right? Then next, the text is saying that since you have obtained this precious human life with facility and opportunities, you must now make effort. Verse number 23. So if even having found leisure as this, if I do not attune myself to what is wholesome, there could be no greater deception. कल मैंने बोला था ना, अपने आप को धोखा मत दो, don't cheat yourself. So if you don't practice, you are cheating yourself, and there could be no greater folly. Right? And then it says, even after realizing this, and if having understood this, I still foolishly continue to be slothful, when the hour of death arrives, tremendous grief will rear its head. है ना? Even after death, that's why I said in ignorance and inaction, मैंने बोला था ना. So if you kind of remove a little bit of your ignorance and develop some understanding, but even after that, if you don't act, and having understood this, I still foolishly continue to be slothful, meaning if you don't act, then क्या होता है फिर? जैसे कि पढ़ाई में आपको पास होना है, तो बोलता आज नहीं पढ़ना है, मैंने घूमना है. दूसरी बोलता है आज मैं नहीं उठना है, थोड़ा मुझे नींद आ रहा है. ऐसे ऐसे बोल के आप पढ़ाई नहीं करेगा तो फिर उसका नतीजा क्या होगा? You will fail. You will fail. This is an example. So similarly here it is saying that tremendous grief will rear its head. Then if my body blazes for a long time in the hell, in the unbearable flames of hell, inevitably my mind will be tormented by the fires of unendurable remorse. Having found by some coincidence this beneficial state that is so hard to find, if now, while able to discriminate, discriminate meaning you've got this very special human brain and intelligence where you are able to judge what is right and what is wrong. But still, if you don't use it, don't practice it, then once again you will be led into the hells. तो ये बार बार क्यों हो रहा है? ये बार बार क्यों हो रहा है? क्या मैं पागल है? क्या मैं बेवकूफ है? क्या मैं बुद्धूराम है? ये बोल रहा है ये. हाँ. Then as though I were hypnotized by किसी magician ने मेरे ऊपर प्रभाव डाल दिया. Then as though I were hypnotized by a spell, I shall reduce his mind to nothing. Even I do not know what is causing me confusion. इसलिए बोलता है कि पढ़ाई करो. इसलिए बोलता है कि पढ़ाई करो. Because otherwise you don't know what is it that is making me confused. पढ़ाई नहीं कर रहा है. Awakening नहीं हो रहा है ना. जगना चाहिए, जगना. जागरूकता होना चाहिए. What is there dwelling in? क्या हो गया मेरे भीतर में? क्या कौन सा घोस्ट आ गया? हाँ. फिर अपने आप को आप शरब दे रहे काइंड ऑफ. बोलता है कि all the enemies such as hatred and craving have, ये जो एनिमी है ना नेगेटिव इमोशंस, जैसे कि हेट्रेड है, क्रेविंग है, उनके पास क्या हाथ पांव है? हाथ पांव भी नहीं है. And they are also not courageous. और कुछ विद्वान भी नहीं है, वो लर्नेड भी नहीं है. How have I been used like a slave by these negative emotions, which is no hand, no leg, no knowledge, कुछ भी नहीं है. इन्होंने हमको कैसे कब्जा कर लिया? सिर्फ कब्जा ही नहीं किया, तो मेरे हेडक्वार्टर में बैठ करके मस्ती बना रहा है अभी, जैसे कल मैंने बताया था ना आपको, फॉर व्हाइल दे ड्वेल विद इन मी, मेरे अंदर में बैठा है, देखो है ना, हेटेड हेटेड आपके अंदर में, एंगर आपके अंदर में, एट देयर प्लेजर दे कॉज मी हार्म, बस मस्ती से आपको साथ खिलवाड़ हो रहा है, तो अब उसके खिलाफ एक भी आवाज नहीं उठाता है, जहां वो ले जाता है वहां अब तुम चले जा रहा है ना। Yet I patiently endured them without any anger. But this is an inappropriate and shameful trial for patience. Yes, patience जरूरी है, बहुत जरूरी है, लेकिन इस तरह का पेशेंस जो हेटेड एंड एंगर के साथ तुम कर रहे हैं, ये बेमतलब का पेशेंस, इसको पेशेंस नहीं बोलता है, इसको क्या बोलता है? हाँ, क्या इसको क्या बोलते हैं? हाँ, improper patience. Should even all the gods and anti-gods rise up against me as my enemies, they should not lead nor place me in the roaring fires of deepest hell. According to your so this from this verse starts talking about the force of destructiveness and force of negative emotions. Verse 28, as we already read, right? Then verse 29, verse 30, they're all talking about. Then verse 31 also. But this mighty foe of these negative emotions, in a moment can cast me amidst those flames, which when met will cause not even the ashes of the king of mountains to remain. Completely बर्बाद हो जाओगे फिर, है ना? And these negative emotions, are they now? One thing that you need to understand here is, are these negative emotions your friends or enemies? Enemies है ना? Enemy किसको बोलते हैं? Enemies are those who harm your health, harm your well-being, harm your relatives, harm your friends, harm your peace. Negative emotions does all this. Ordinary enemies, they are very destructive, very harmful, but they come from outside. So you can run away. If you can't fight, you realize the enemy is coming, तो फिर क्या करना चाहिए? भाग जाना चाहिए. If somehow they caught you, then you can plead, I'm sorry, I'll do whatever you do. They might spare your life. Of this enemy of negative emotions, how are you going to run away from them? They are inside you. आपके अंदर में बैठे हैं. अब क्या करेंगे? So the only way to dislodge them, to remove them, is by bodhicitta and wisdom, understanding reality. But if you do the practice, it's not that difficult. For example, imagine there is a house which has been kept dark for, say, 1 century, completely dark for 1 century. But suddenly, if you push the button of light on, the centuries old darkness will disappear. कहाँ गया? गायब हो जाता ना. उसी तरह, when you light the wisdom inside you, these negative emotions will disappear, not instantly, but the way to removing them has started. So the only problem is you don't have that courage to do all these practices. Then the negative emotions, all other enemies are incapable of remaining for such a length of time. दूसरा external human enemies है, वो कितना साल तक वो enemy रहेगा? कभी cease fire होगी, फिर साथ में रहता है, business start हो जाता है ना? रोज तो नहीं लड़ रहा है ना, कुछ हद तक लड़ेगा, ज्यादा नहीं लड़ सकता. लेकिन ये negative emotions, ये आपके साथ है. From immemorable time, they have been your enemy and destroying you. all the time. As can my disturbing conceptions, the long-term enemy with neither beginning nor end. तो अब ऐसे खुला छोड़ देंगे तो कभी खत्म होने वाला नहीं है सिलसिला. In the case of human relationship, if I agreeably honor and entrust myself to other human beings, they will bring me benefit and happiness. But I entrust myself to these disturbing conceptions, in future they will bring only misery and harm. Clear, right? With human beings, if you also try to be nice, they will also try to be nice. With the negative emotions, if you try to be nice, they'll become more forceful. Be nice with attachment, nice with anger. Anger will become more powerful. Attachment will become powerful. Human enemies, they may be horrible, but they have also a purpose. Negative emotions, what is their purpose? There is no other purpose except to destroy you. Therefore, कल हम लोगों ने नारा लगाया था ना, नारा वो नारा है, हाँ, gone are the days, gone are the days when you enslaved me. You enslaved me when I had no knowledge of bodhicitta and wisdom. I will now got those wisdom. I will now never ever submit to your dictates. आवाज बुलंद करना चाहिए. You know, suddenly, Tashila, what came into my mind is we can actually write down some of these slogans on banners everywhere so people can see some of these powerful banners. Reminders are needed, you see. While in cyclic existence, how can I be joyful and unafraid? If in my heart I readily prepare a place for this incessant enemy of long duration. उनका अब खरीदारी कर रहा है, फिर कहाँ होगा? The sole cause for the increase of all the all that harms me. Right? And how shall I ever have happiness if in a net of attachment within my mind there dwell the guardians of the prison of cyclic existence? They are disturbing conceptions that become my butchers and tormentors in hell. Therefore, the next topic is, since it is not easy to abandon these negative emotions, you need to have this patience of undergoing some hardship when challenging them. कभी आप युद्ध में जाओगे ना, फिर क्या करना पड़ता है? When you go for fighting in a battlefield, what do you need to take with you? हाँ? क्या लेना है? क्या? गन. सबसे पहले गन याद आ गया तुझे. I'm joking. So बहुत मेहनत करना पड़ता है. Look at some of these army men, you know, they do exercise all the time, make their body strong. बर्फ में भी जाओ, पहाड़ पर भी जाओ, कहीं भी जाओ, fit हो, है ना? तो इसलिए you need to make yourself fit when you fight against these enemy negative emotions. Fit कैसे करोगे? First, mentally fit. And the weapons in this case is bodhicitta, patience, effort, 6 perfections. You need all this. है ना? So when you go to the battlefield to fight the enemy, mentally you should be prepared that there will be some problems, some hardships. है ना? ऐसे तुम्हारा मुंह दिखा के एनिमी थोड़ी भाग जाएगा, है ना? थोड़ा कुछ तो मुश्किल सहना पड़ता है ना. इसी तरह when you do the practice of Dharma to fight against the negative emotions, you need to make some effort. अभी भी आप लोग एफर्ट कर रहे हैं ना. 3 सेशन हो रहा है, हाँ, 1.5 घंटा यहाँ बैठा हुआ है, फिर डिस्कशन हो रहा है, which is Very good. You are making effort. So some effort to करना चाहिए हर चीज में. In order to achieve anything, you need to work. So that's what he's saying. Especially in this case, he's saying, while in cycle existence, how can I be joyful and unafraid if in my heart I readily prepare a place for this incessant enemy of long duration? बहुत सदियों से बैठा हुआ ये हमारा दुश्मन बैठा हुआ है जिससे सारा harmful activities होता है. Then how can I stay in this samsara with a happy attitude? And how shall I ever have happiness if in a net of attachment within my mind there dwell the guardian ones I already read. Therefore, now this is the big slogan that you should make. Therefore, as long as this enemy is not slain with certainty before my very eyes, उसको यही मैंने खत्म करना है. I shall never give up exerting myself towards that end. Having become angry at someone who caused only slight and short-lived harm, self-important people will not sleep until the enemy is overcome. In our ordinary life also, people who are a little bit, having some kind of self-respect, if somebody did something wrong, then say, उसको तो मैं revenge करना है. Without revenging that person, I can't get sleep. बोलते हैं ना हम लोग. अब यहाँ सो रहे तुम खराटे मार के. नेगेटिव इमोशंस इतना आपको तंग दिया, इतना सदियों से दिया, फिर भी खराटे मार के सो रहे. ये क्या है? That's what he's saying. Really, very powerful, very powerful. With other human beings, you seem to be very bold, but with negative emotions, you are coward. And if while engaged in a violent battle, vigorously desiring to conquer those whose disturbing conceptions will naturally bring them suffering at death, men disregard the pain of being pierced by spears and arrows and will not withdraw until the day is won. That's what we do in human, fight. Then what need to mention that I should not be faint-hearted and slothful, even if I am caused many hundreds of sufferings. When now I strive to definitely overcome my natural enemies, these disturbing conceptions, which are the constant source of my misery. Right? Then it says, in our ordinary world, if you go to battle and the enemy hurts you and you are wounded, and then later on throughout your life you say, ये जब मैं बांग्लादेश में युद्ध में गया था उस वक्त लगा था बोल के उसको शो कर गया ना, right? To show how brave, how courageous you are. So that's what he's saying. If even scars inflicted by meaningless enemies are worn upon the body like ornaments, then why is suffering a cause of harm to me, who impeccably strives to fulfill the great purpose? और वैसे भी जिंदगी में तकलीफ तो बहुत उठाना पड़ता है बोलता है. अब धर्म के प्रति तुम तकलीफ उठाने के लिए तैयार नहीं है. You are not ready to undergo any hardship when it comes to doing Dharma practice. But the fact is, in your ordinary life also, you have to undergo a lot of hardship for your food, clothing, and so forth. But in your ordinary life, you may have made a lot of effort in getting your food, clothing, money, and so forth, but that is just for one life. And there's no guarantee that from there you'll always get big success. But here there is a guarantee. फिर आप नहीं कर रहा. If fishermen, hunters, and farmers, thinking merely of their own livelihood, endure the sufferings of heat and cold, why am I not patient for the sake of the world's joy? When I promise to liberate all those beings dwelling in the 10 directions as far as the ends of the space from their disturbing conceptions, I myself was not yet freed from mine. बोलते हैं कि मैंने बोधिचित्त उत्पन्न किया, ये क्या पागलपन है? मुझे पहले मेरी हालत दिखना चाहिए, हाँ? मुझे अपने बारे में कुछ भी पता नहीं, बोलता है कि सबको मैं मदद करूंगा, क्या बकवास कर रहा है? That's what he's saying, है ना? बोलता है ना verse 42, thus unaware of even my own capacity, was it not somewhat crazy to have spoken like that? Spoken like what? I'll deliver all sentient beings from suffering. But as this is so, I must never withdraw from relinquishing my disturbing conceptions. But since I made the promise, I will never withdraw. Now the next is talking about how to remove negative emotions. And to do this will be my sole obsession. Holding a strong grudge, I shall meet them in battle. बस अब रानी का झांसी बन गया, झांसी का रानी क्या बोलते हैं? अब मैं लड़ूंगा, उसको छोड़ूंगा नहीं. This is really amazing. And to do this will be my sole obsession. मतलब मेरा obsession क्या है? To get rid of the negative emotions. This is my profession now. This is my job. और उसके प्रति मैं घृणा भी करूंगा. Holding a strong grudge, लाजमी है ये. I shall meet them in battle. But disturbing conceptions such as these destroy disturbing conceptions, and for the time being are not to be abandoned. So जिसका क्या मतलब है? But disturbing conceptions such as these destroy disturbing conceptions. Meaning grudge नहीं होना चाहिए ना, वैसे रिवेंज का सोच नहीं होना चाहिए ना, लेकिन afflictive emotions के प्रति grudge होना चाहिए, hatred होना चाहिए. That's what I say. So, but disturbing conceptions such as this, like the grudge, which is normally discouraged, this time it is encouraged because this will destroy the disturbing emotions. So therefore this is not to be abandoned but is to be adopted. It would be better for me to be burnt, to have my head cut off and to be killed, rather than ever bowing down to the dictates of these negative emotions, to those ever-present disturbing conceptions. But there is a good news now. There's a good news. The good news is, in the case of ordinary negative enemies, if you today banish them and kick them out, but they'll go to some other place, get the support of some other country, collect more arms, and then come back to fight you. यहाँ ऐसा नहीं है. If you once remove these negative emotions from your mind, they'll not go to some other place and then come back again. एक बार उसको निकल दिया तो निकल दिया बस. That's good news. Common enemies, when expelled from one country, simply retire and settle down in another. Though when their strength is recovered, they then return and harm you. But the way of this enemy, my negative emotions, is not similar in this respect, meaning that once you remove them, they cannot come back. Because these negative emotions are based on delusions. And if they are removed by the eye of wisdom, deluded disturbing conceptions, when forsaken by eye of wisdom and dispelled from my mind, where will you go? Where will you go? कहाँ जाओगे? If I remove my negative emotions from me, will it go and enter into one of you? मेरा anger खत्म हो गया, आपके anger बढ़ गया, ऐसा नहीं है ना? That's what he's saying. And dispelled from my mind, where will you go? Where will you dwell in order to be able to endure me again? फिर भी ये नहीं हो रहा, क्योंकि मैं लाचार है, मैं कमजोर है, इसलिए नहीं हो रहा है, मैं मेहनत नहीं कर रहा इसलिए नहीं हो रहा है. But weak minded, अपने आप को यहाँ कोस रहा है. But weak minded, it's because of my weak mind that I have been reduced to making no effort. If these detestable conceptions do not exist within objects, so and also these negative emotions, where are they? Are they on this beautiful table? Are they on your sense organs? Or between the two, the object and the sense organs? ढूंढो कहाँ है वो? Hatred कहाँ है? Anger कहाँ है? ढूंढो. मॉल में है, कहाँ है? हाँ? You will not find them there. Then where do they exist and how do they harm the world? They are like an illusion. Thus I should dispel the fear within my heart and strive resolutely for wisdom. For no real reason, why should I suffer so much? देखो, बेकार में यहाँ दुख झेल रहा है, बोलता है ना, कितना अच्छा बोला. As I mentioned earlier, we are suffering unnecessarily because of lack of wisdom. Right? Right? So therefore, the negative emotions are based on illusion. Illusion means because you are not able to understand the law of nature, you tend to see things as having those that has no independent existence, you tend to see them as having independent existence. Those that have no permanent existence, you tend to see them as permanent, right? So because of this wrong conception, because of this illusion, you are suffering. So if you remove the illusion, you don't have to suffer, right? Therefore, having thought about this well, बोलते हैं ना, बलि बांधी अच्छी तरह से सोच करके, having thought about this well, I should try to put these precepts into practice just as they have been explained. If the doctor's instructions are ignored, how will a patient in need of cure be headed by the medicine? हम लोग बोलता है ना, मैं थोड़ा ठीक नहीं है, बीमार है बोल के हॉस्पिटल में जाता है, हॉस्पिटल में जाता है, फिर वहाँ जो डॉक्टर दवाई देगा फिर बोलता है कि ये करवा है, मैं नहीं खाऊंगा. इसका मतलब you're not very sick, है ना? So he's saying that if you, first of all, if you go to the doctor, why you are going to the doctor? To have your ailment treated. And for that you need to take medicine. If you don't take it, how can you get cured? Just by reading the prescription? No. You need to eat it. So similarly, you need to practice it. Practice the Dharma, which is like the medicine. If the doctor's instructions are ignored, how will a patient in need of cure be healed by this his medicine? From the Bodhisattva way of life, this is chapter 4. Heedfulness, not conscientiousness. Heedfulness. Okay. Time to attack me.
Thank you so much. Hello. Hello. Thank you so much for the teachings. My question is, I'm from Japan, my question is about animals. Animals, yes. In page 39. In page 39, it is said that it is extremely hard to attain the human state. And then it seems that in Buddhism, animals are discriminated, animals are inferior to humans. but sometimes I want to be a bird to fly in the sky. I want to be a dolphin in the ocean. And then some animals are living peacefully in the forest, not disturbed by anything.
Yeah.
So why is there any difference between us?
This is a good question.
And then also, where does that idea come from?
This is a good question. I have actually answered this when you asked this question about animals. I've actually answered this question. But here, what you need to do is you should have a clear understanding of not making discrimination, but also recognizing the differences. Discrimination unintentionally, without any reason, if you say animals are bad, women are bad, men are bad, whatever, that's discrimination. But if I say women are different from men are different from women, they have different features, they have different characters, that's not discrimination. That is a statement of the fact, right? And then especially in the Buddhist discourse, we are talking about the possibilities of achieving the highest state of happiness, which is called enlightenment, which is not possible in this state, in this life of an animal. They may be very peaceful, in that sense we should appreciate their peace. But the rocks are very peaceful. The rocks are not harming anybody, they are all the time. Right? So we cannot say the rocks will achieve enlightenment because they are so peaceful. Right? So therefore, it's important to make a clear distinction between recognizing the differences and not making a discrimination on that. And therefore, Buddhists do not make discrimination because we say all sentient beings have the capacity to become Buddha. Capacity is there, but right now, because of your physical features and other things, you are not able to do all these practices. So in that case, you have attained a weaker state of life, in that sense. Taken?
Thank you so much.
Gisela, I have a question regarding the self-grasping ignorance. Actually, we tend to chant this like all phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata, and cessation of causes as well as is taught by the Great Seer. All phenomena arise from causes. Like there is always a cause for all the phenomena. Right.
Now, if you are trying to be logical, I'll give you a befitting reply. मुंह तोड़ जवाब दूंगा मैं. मेरा मुंह तोड़ जवाब ये है कि Buddhist teaching never say all phenomena arise from causes and conditions. Never. They say all conditioned phenomena arise from causes and conditions. Because within phenomena there are permanent phenomena, impermanent phenomena. Impermanent phenomena arise from causes and conditions, whereas permanent phenomena not dependent on causes and conditions.
So, self-grasping ignorance doesn't have a cause.
It has self-grasping ignorance is a conditioned phenomena. So it arises from its causes and conditions, yes.
So there is a subtle cause for it.
Huh?
So there is a subtle cause for it.
What?
So there is a cause. What is the cause means?
This is a good question. Give a good question which makes me think. किस तरह का जवाब देना चाहिए? हाँ? अभी मुंह तोड़ जवाब नहीं है. इसका पर्सन मुंह तोड़ पर्सन पूछा इसने. हाँ? तो मेरे को बहुत जरूरत से पहले मैंने बोल दिया ना. अब इसका नतीजा ये देखो. इसका नतीजा देखो. ये मुंह तोड़ पर्सन पूछ रहा है मुझे. So, but you can answer this by saying one, all conditioned phenomena arise from their causes and conditions. That's general answer, right? But then, if you are asking about the specific causes and conditions for that, then I think this leads to this question of the thing that I mentioned earlier, why we have more negative emotions than positive emotions? Why? Why do we have more negative emotions than positive emotions? Huh?
Way of living from our ancestors' age.
But normally many Buddhist teachers, they say, because we are accustomed to it for many countless lives. That's for me not an answer, which may be true, but again the question is why then? Why for countless eons you're accustomed with negative things, not with positive things? Why? That's why I ask people to read this book called Why Buddhism is True. There is a book called Why Buddhism is True. So there, this gentleman, Robert something his name, he says, because originally we were animals. We were animals. And the job of an animal is to pass their gene to the next generation, to have sex and produce children and ensure the continuity of their kind. Then if anybody comes interfering their mating session or interfering their food, then fight. You know? So attachment, hatred, anger is only for survival. So we had inherited this. That's why there is so much self-cherishing attitude. Probably that can be the answer. But this gentleman again says, but this does not mean to say that there's no possibility to, move towards the path of enlightenment. Because if you make an effort, then you can definitely move towards the path of enlightenment. But on a normal basis, how we exist as ordinary human being, this is the question, this is the answer. Right? Because as I mentioned yesterday also, we are not produced by the parents to get enlightened or achieve nirvana. We are produced just to procreate, pass the gene to the next generation. We are necessary. Right? Okay.
Touch the leg, Geshe-la. Hello. 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 Touch the leg, Geshe-la. My question is regarding hello. Touch the leg, Geshe-la. Hello. I think you are aware about Rajneesh Osho. Hello. Okay. I think you are aware about Rajneesh Osho. I think you are you know him not personally. I think you know Osho, and he often share our teaching of Buddha, Mahavir, and also Kabir.
जोर लगा के हाई सा अंदर नहीं हुआ
Hello.
उनको भी सुनाए उनको भी जोर से हाँ
You know about the Osho.
yes I know
And he often give a teaching of Buddha,
Yes.
Mahavir, and also
Yes.
Kabir.
Ah.
He never talk about kindness that much. So, what you think that should we follow Osho? That's what he says, and how do you see?
I will never say you follow Osho or anybody. I'll not even tell you to follow Buddha or anything. I'll just share their wisdom and then let you choose yourself. ठीक है ना? Osho is a very clever person, and he was declared as one of the most troublesome person in the world out of I think 10 or 20 people. खतरनाक सोच विचार. He had such a smart brain that when he was in the philosophy, he was a philosophy student. in the philosophical department, his teacher could not teach. So always bombarding the teacher with questions. Then he said, better तुम यहाँ से जाओ, दूसरी जगह जाओ. So he went to another university, and there the university faculty member, they said, you should not be a student, you should be a teacher. Then started teaching there. Very clever. And he remembers many of the teachings of the Buddha. He's written, or written, not written, but he's giving talk, later compiled. There's a whole thick book like this on 7 points of mind training. There is his also commentary on Heart Sutra. There is also his teaching on Bodhisattva, liberating from the intermediate state, things like that. So it's very clever, very clever. I read many of his books, but I try to get what I need, not everything. Right. Yeah, there are books. There is one whole book on compassion. You may have not read it. I have it. So one whole book on compassion by Osho Rajneesh, we call it. Right? Yeah.
Mic is not working.
Sheila, I have a question. Even though
This is not working, Ishna. बैटरी कोड एग्जॉस्टेड आई थिंक.
अच्छा.
हाँ जी, माफ करना.
अच्छा, ये हमसे बोलना है.
Gisela, I have a question. Like, even though the Buddha and many great teachers came to this world, why is there still suffering in this world?
When I was speaking about it, I just spoke about it. You didn't listen. मैंने बोला कि countless Buddhas have come, but I unfortunately did not become an object of their care because of my laziness. अगर इधर पानी चल रहा है, लेकिन तुम खुद नहीं पीने से पानी तुम्हारा मुंह में थोड़े आएगा, है ना? तो अपने और से परिश्रम करना चाहिए.
Thank you, Gisela.
Thank you.
इन युमलाक किन बोर्ड में पर डोला मेरा नहीं कैमरा नहीं हो.
Geshe-la, in verse number 43, it says that our sole purpose is to get rid of the negative emotions, and we should hold a strong grudges towards it so that we can remove the negative emotions. But doesn't that itself is a negative, afflictive emotions, which will lead us more towards lower and lower states? As you mentioned that we should be having more hatred towards getting rid of those negative emotions. But doesn't that itself is a negative emotion?
I already explained that. Because here the grudge against negative emotions is proper.
Okay, Geshe-la.
Your grudge and hatred against other sentient beings is improper. But your hatred or grudge against the negative emotions is proper. Because that is for removing other negative emotions.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yes, sure.
माइक होता है यार.
Actually, my question is like that. On the 6th of July, when there is His Holiness' birthday, there are 4 sentences His Holiness repeated many times. And also in the morning when we go for the health checkup, His Holiness always chant these 4 sentences. We got some explanation for this for my own practice, but then I would like to request the Geshe-la to just to elaborate on this 4 sentences. Standard in Chinchoki, Machapam, Chapkang Yamper Gurbe Chokdirni, Injection for Yudap Sketpai, Pandested the show. So he has repeatedly chanting this mantra and he was doing that just to every audience. So could you please explain this a little bit for the students? That would be wonderful.
Yes,
Thanks.
I remember. So that verse says, Tempa Renchin Choke, Machapam, Chapan, Yamper Chobe, Choten, Yidishin, Yerab Chobe, and the December Chapel Show. This is from one prayer where it says, moved by compassion, may I be able to illuminate or highlight the treasure of temporary well-being and long-term happiness, which is the Buddha's teaching, which I pray should travel in those places or spread in those places where it has not spread, or in those places where the Buddha teaching had spread but declining. So may I be able to restore that. I remember this very well when I was visiting these Russian republics with His Holiness Dalai Lama. At that time he was of course much younger. And he always did this prayer. The precious teaching which had not spread those places, or places where it has spread but declined. Moved by compassion, may I be able to revive and spread. There's no talking about conversion. There's talking about simply helping those. Right? This is very important because this teaching of Buddha is the source of immediate, happiness and long-term benefit for all suffering sentient beings. So his concern, his total concern, just like this bodhicitta is how to reduce and remove the sufferings of sentient beings. Sufferings of sentient beings are like too much, overwhelming. So that's why he's always like Ling. He clearly sees the problems of everybody. Ling, So that's the reason. So that's why for you also, once you understand this text, the meaning, you will have big capacity in reducing the unnecessary problems and sufferings that we are encountering today. Unnecessary, totally fighting with each other, bullying each other, showing arrogance, totally stupid. And I feel very sorry with some of even the world leaders who show so much arrogance, hugging everybody, killing everybody, ordering everybody to kill, with the force of army, with the force of police, blowing ordinary people, not knowing that they have no sense when they are going to die. कल मरने वाला होगा, फिर उसको वो भी पता नहीं है, ऐसे क्यों रहा है? Yes. I keep an eye on all those things. Yes, unnecessary suffering, unnecessary problem. Yeah.
Keshisla, I also have one question. When we are going any monastery on the same like here, on the main gate there are two deers. What does it symbolize? What does it symbolize? In many monastery there gets two deers is there, no? Yeah, here also there. So
That means like in between them there is the way of Dharma teaching symbolized by the woman. So that way is surrounded by the two animal deers. So it is said that deers, they listen to everything very carefully. And that's why many hunters, they take advantage of their innocence. And then they lay a trap somewhere and then play some beautiful music. And then the deers come with raised ears towards them, and then unfortunately they get stuck in the trap and they are caught. So here, because we have this wheel of Dharma in center, and the deer listen to the teaching Dharma, like the deers listen to music. That's the meaning. Yeah.
Thank you.
So my question is related to what Garajan an extension of his question. So he said that all phenomena arise from causes, and you said that it's the conditional, the conditional, not all phenomena. So in Chosa Thamja Gyula Jung, the Yu teaching Shis Bisu, Gyula Go Pakangimpa, so the choice in that is the conditional things. Yeah. So if conditional things exist, then unconditional things must also exist.
Yes.
So does unconditional things mean like stuffs that doesn't have any cause? And if it does, then doesn't that
So here, when you say children from the village, all phenomena arise from cause, does not mean all phenomena in sense of phenomena, including the permanent phenomena. Here is saying all conditioned phenomena arises from their causal condition. Because these verses are talking about the importance of Four Noble Truths, right? Saying that things arise from the negative emotions and actions, and you can put an end to this, things like that, right?
But yeah, the question I have is if like unconditional things exist, doesn't it like opposes the term and the notion of dependent origination and interdependency?
That's different. Dependence, no, this is the right question. Right question is when we talk about dependent arising, dependent origination, the dependence have different meanings. Dependence on causes and conditions, which applies only to conditioned phenomena.
Okay.
Then the next level is dependent on designation, not causes and conditions. Here, permanent phenomena, they're also designated by the mind. So they're dependent on the designation.
Okay.
And similarly, dependent on parts and whole. Right? The whole is called whole because it's dependent on part. The part is called part because it is part of the whole. So different meanings of dependent origination.
So you said that permanent phenomena, they are like on designation, right?
Designated. All phenomena are designated.
Designated.
All phenomena are not conditioned by causes and conditions, but all phenomena are designated.
So that doesn't the designation itself becomes like a condition?
Condition, it depends what you mean by condition. But it's not in the sense of impermanent condition.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you so much, Ishla.
So one last question.
Julia Geshe-la. So my question is, do you believe in theory of heaven and hell truly exists in Buddhism?
Yeah.
If yes, then is there any scientifically proven? Because I personally believe that Buddhism was based on facts and scientific facts, not just on theory.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but there are things that science cannot measure. Science, I'll tell you a very interesting story. The so-called science that we are having today, you know the story? How it originated?
Big Bang Theory.
Before science, there was only Western philosophy. There was nothing called science. Philosophy only. And within philosophy, there is also metaphysical philosophy. Physical philosophy, metaphysical philosophy. Metaphysical philosophy means those philosophies that talk about non-physical things like heaven, hell, past life, future life, things like those things were there. And then gradually some of the thinkers, the future to be scientists, they said, let's talk about metaphysical realities. Maybe true, maybe not true, but we don't want to make any, decision on that. But what is important for ordinary human beings is to not talk so much about metaphysical things, but talk about reality, physical things. So let us keep the word matter out. So this new group of scientists, they keep the word matter out, and that left the word physics. That is how science originated. So it talks only about physical realities, however subtle it is. It's not talking about like very, very like subtle metaphysical realities. They're talking about something that they can measure, that they can calculate, not beyond that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy your what? No, there's no lunch today.
Pin गा तेरा सॉरी हमको ठंडी का